Hey, what's up, and welcome back to Game Brigade. I am Brian Greer, and today in the show, we're taking a look at all the games coming to crowdfunding, so either Kickstarter and or Gamefound, starting on the week of July 12th. If you are new to the show, we do these weekly updates where we talk about all the games. I'll also give you an idea of what I think are the games to take a look out for, so if you're interested in my opinion on the best games of the week, stay tuned for more. All right, well, we're going to start off with our standard preamble, little introduction. If you guys, we've been doing this actually the last few weeks. I've been enjoying it, kind of giving you guys an update each week of what we've been doing. So last week we had Soul Raiders First Look. So that launched on Kickstarter this week. My review went live the same day that the game launched. If you are looking for more information on Soul Raiders, you want to get my take on it, check it out. I think it's a good little video. Game is a little bit more expensive than I thought it would be. Of course, when we get the copies, we don't know any of the details of the pricing. So afterwards, I was like a little shocked in terms of the price, but the game was still fun and enjoyable. Check out the review for more. Other than that, we had a what did I back, what did I play, and what did I sell. I also did a what did I get. It's kind of like a whole combination of things video. A lot of fun. Really enjoyed that format. Probably going to keep that format going for a while as long as I have stuff to cover. So stay tuned for that. Starting with today's video, we are going to dive into a board game adjacent. It's still a game, but it's not really a board game. It's interesting. It's a video game IP. So we're going to dive straight into that. So the first one we're taking a look at is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This is a dice game that is going to be based on the game from the new Assassin's Creed Valhalla game. Now, this will be launching on Kickstarter. There are close to 5,000 people who are following it. There's obviously not a lot of information, no information on Board Game Geek for this, but I did find the company's website, which has this game, which gives us a price here at $200 that says sold out. But I was able to take a look, and so from these photos, the game does look like it's going to be a very deluxeified, and I don't know if this is going to be what the Kickstarter is. No idea. But this is the same site, the same company, and same product name. So I'm taking a chance that this is going to be similar to what we're looking at, but it looks like a very deluxeified dice game. Didn't play this Assassin's Creed. I think the last Assassin's Creed I played was maybe Black Flag, I think was the last one I played. So don't know necessarily what this gameplay is going to look like, but you could take a look at that on Kickstarter. I believe this is coming out July 13th. Okay, so for the first game that we're going to take a look at is Ryder, the card game. And this is a self-published game by Curtis Humphreys. And this game is trying to attempt to remove the luck aspect of a card game. Now, it's hard to remove luck from a card game because you're always drawing from the top of the deck. So there's always that form of luck and chance as you draw from the deck. But this game is trying to take the aspect of having each player place 4 cards face down in front of them, and then players are going to take turns trying to attack their face down opponent's cards, where they are then going to try to remember what their cards were so you can best utilize your cards to eventually attack them and defeat them. So they're trying to use some sort of memory aspect to this game, and they say that they will have additional elements to spice up the gameplay, such as a war cry element, so something that you can play around with. This looks like a fun little easy game. Card games are very plentiful on Kickstarter, so good luck to Ryder, the card game. Okay, so the next game we have is Dune, House of Secrets, also coming out on July 12th. And this is by Portal Games. Portal Games we know from Robinson Crusoe that just launched. And these guys are actually going to be doing a game based on the recent IP of the movie Dune. As far as I can tell, this looks like definitely actors that I'm aware of. And you have the legendary title, so this looks like this is definitely an IP title. But what they're doing is they're actually using the system from the popular, this is not working, let's refresh it. Here we go, from the popular Detective, a modern crime board game. And this actually has a fairly decent rating here on Board Game Geek. And what Detective was they used kind of a deduction skills as you're trying to solve a crime. This will be using the same system where you're going to have a online portal that you're going to be using to access things. You're then also going to be having physical cards that you're going to basically be using to solve whatever mysteries or missions that are going to delve you deeper into the lore of Dune as you take on the role of some rebels in the world. Now, I haven't read the book Dune, and I haven't watched the movie since like 1989 or whenever that long 12-hour movie came out. It's my knowledge of the actual lore of the game is very bad. So this is a game for players who are still trying to learn the lore, to pick up a game and dive into the mysteries with an interesting little system. I think this is going to be one of the ones that I'm going to give a recommendation to. Very close to being my pick of the week, just based on the system alone, but I'm definitely giving it a recommendation. Okay, so the next game we're taking a look at is Taelmoor, the scan and play dungeon crawler by the Delve Bros. Now, this is going to be brought to us as a self-published title by Eli Deventhal, Wilhelm Deventhal, and Zach Deventhal. If I didn't pronounce your names right, guys, I am sorry. But this is going to be a cooperative fantasy adventure game that uses a digital element to play the game. So you are going to have an app, and you are going to be scanning the cards with your app, which will then have you give different options. And what I saw when this game was being previewed was a game that really tried to delve into the original Dungeons and Dragons like effects, where you're going to have options of inspecting a room and searching things, and just having that option of doing things you can have a little bit more free play in the Dungeons and Dragons like experience. But the app is taking on the role of the DM, so the players can focus on the gameplay. So I thought that was very interesting. The combat features a simplified deck construction elements, where you're going to be playing cards from your hand to do different types of effects. You'll be scanning the cards to kind of give an idea. And the actual system, the app, will look very much like when it goes to combat, when you're actually fighting something. It reminded me of an old Final Fantasy game or a Pokemon game, like the original ones. So kind of interesting take on that. Definitely uses that app system. So if you're not a guy or not a player that likes apps, you could be leery of that, but I think they are trying to be innovative and try something new in the space. Okay, so the first game that we're covering from Gamefound, this might be the only Gamefound game that we're covering, is Vast Grimm. Not a lot of information on it, but they do have a click to follow to get a free D20 with your pledge. So if you are, I always try to tell you guys, I will let you know if there's free content to get. If you click that, you definitely get the free follow. I have already done that, so you can see that right there. But this game is going to be an RPG. I was going to do something funny. I was going to do brutal, horrific, and disgusting. I was thinking about doing something like that, but I decided, nah. Well, I still did it for you guys anyway, so you still got me doing it. But that's really all they have for information. Infectious, rules light, and art heavy. And this sci-fi RPG, I have no idea what I'm doing, but we're rolling with it. I'm not gonna stop. But yeah, that's what it is. Sci-fi RPG, kind of in this brutal, horrific, disgusting like setting. And you're going to have different types of elder dice that you're going to be able to get based on your kind of aesthetic that you're going to be going for. So that right now is all they have for information on this game. I wish I could tell you more in terms of the writing style or the direction they're going to be taking it. But during the FAQ in the comment section, they were very clear that will all be released during the campaign. So if you're interested on the free D20 with your pledge, definitely click follow. Otherwise, we'll have to wait for the campaign to get more information about Vast Grimm. Okay, I'm right, you're wrong. Another one of these indie self-published title games. A lot of them this week, these self-publishers, which is great because people are trying to get the products out there. I'm right, you're wrong is a game that tries to use petty arguments and witty comebacks to win the argument. And when I first heard that name, I thought, or that description, I thought, man, what's this gameplay? Am I gonna be stinking like you stink? What's this gonna be? But the cards actually look like they have a little bit more play to them. So you can see down here at the bottom, they have return 2 cards. They have a bunch of different abilities. In fact, I found their website where you can see a little bit more of the type of cards. And what I can gather is that they're going to have suits up here in the top right that cards are going to be belong to. And so when it says can't play thumbs up, that's referring to these kind of cards here. Can't play cheese, that's referring to these kind of cards. So almost like an Uno-like game. It's hard for me to know without seeing all the cards and getting a clear indication of it. But just a casual card game that will be available. If you like the art, if you like the theme, they definitely have a cute, whimsical website, which is cool for them. But definitely check it out if you're looking for something that probably is going to be on the lower end of the price point, that might fit, that kind of casual gameplay, that probably 20 to 30 minute gameplay session. Let's see what they say. 5 to 15 minute, even better. That's a 5-minute game. Can't beat those, right, guys? So that's I'm Right, You're Wrong, a short, sweet play strategy card game. I realized I forgot to tell you the dates of all these games. So almost everything before that, July 13th. This is also going to be July 13th. Spires in Hildegard. And this is one that I'm also going to be tagging with a recommendation just because I really like the open-endedness of this adventure. Now, this week, we're getting a lot of these adventure-like games. And in fact, this month, we're having a lot of these type of games kind of hitting. So this is another one that'll be available. And this is in the Spires and universe, but specifically focusing on the character of Hildegard. So you're basically going to have this deck of cards and you'll be drawing them. You'll be reading the card. It'll tell you what you're going to do. And you're going to be playing the game from these cards, delving into the experience and to the story. And you'll be utilizing dice where you're going to be rolling them, attempting to get different types of sets or pairings for different types of results. The game looks really cool. The story seems like it dives in fairly well. And this is one from a publisher that we've seen do some good things previously in a similar space. Spire's End was a little bit more dark and kind of dreary. Hildegard is going to be a little bit more light and vibrant. So if you're looking for that kind of environment, I think this would be a good end pick. I'm excited for this one, and I'm really kind of curious what the price point will be once it launches on Kickstarter on the 13th. Okay, so the next one we have is Rat Queens to the Slaughter. Sisters, warriors, queens, and friends to the very end. And if I could pick out one game that has the most amount of teen angst like oozing out of it, this would be the one. And Rat Queens is basically going to be a deck building game where you're going to be upgrading your deck and your dice through different types of missions while fighting monsters. And then once you get about to the midway points, a little bit beyond the midway point, you're going to be switching where you're now going to be taking your upgraded characters and fighting against the whatever end boss may be, the completion of it. So the idea is you're going to be upgrading your characters, building up whatever customization you want to do, and then defeating them through the dice rolling and deck manipulation that you have created. If you're interested in this one, this is going to be published by Deepwater Games, coming out on July 13th. Okay, Bantam West. And if I could give you a description of this game the best I could, I don't know if I could. It's a very complicated game. They do have, for the first 48 hours, the home on the range pledge and above will receive a free Dead Sellers map. So if you're interested in that, they will do have a 48-hour early bird. So you always want to make sure you are aware of those. But Bantam West is going to be a game set in the Western frontier, and I don't necessarily think it's the United States or anything like that. Just imagine a setting of the Old West. Well, players are going to be trying to live in this. They call it an open world simulation game where players are going to be living the life of their character, trying to complete some objectives for them to win. And you have to get, I think, 5 of the objectives for your character to win. And they could be buy a horse, build a cabin, do something memorable, like burning your friends' houses down. And that is a part of this game. Players can play as an arsonist and burn down other players' house. They have a lot of thematic feels to this game where if you are in the mountains and if you don't break into a cabin or have a cabin to stay in, you will get frostbitten and damaged. So they're definitely trying to bring out the Western thematic feel of this. They're also using a line of sight method with dueling, and this is actually a perfect screen to show that. You can see here there are colored sections here. So if you have one player here in this blue-yellow section and one player here in the yellow-pink section, well, if a player's here and player's here, because they're yellow, they can see each other. But if a player moves to this blue section, they no longer have line of sight. And this is a way for players to have duels in the game if you wish. So you can definitely have a lot of take that mechanics in this game. Again, I think it's kind of funny they have this ultra beer up here in their promotional ads. Definitely a game that is going to have to be for the right player group. I do think this one is going to be interesting. Definitely a recommendation for me, just based off of all the elements in the game that are being implemented, and it does seem like they are implementing them well. It is being currently rated a little bit heavier of a weight complexity, so take note of that. I think anything over a 2.5 should be looked at for your player group to see if it will be a good fit. But otherwise, I think Bantam West, brought to us by Bantam Planet, is going to be a pretty sweet game. The next game on the list coming out July 13th, and hey, look at this, they actually put their thing. You know, so many publishers don't actually do that. I think it's a great idea. They have 99 followers. I'll be the number, oh jeez, I thought I was gonna be number 100. How did that work? Now I'm 106, whatever. Pop West, Top Pop by Talon Strike Studios is going to be bringing us a game where players are going to be playing soda pop companies, trying to get the basic stakes, the winning the stakes in different cities. And it's going to be a set collection game, but with a little twist in terms of that. And here's a perfect example of how the game will operate. Players will be spending their time placing their bottle caps, and I'm told that these will be actual bottle cap looking designs instead of these caps. They might be a stretch goal even. So players will be placing their cards here, placing their bottle caps, and you're trying to get your stack the highest, and you have to have ownership of that stack, and you have ownership by having your bottle cap as the top stack. But once you do that, you have to have that come around to your turn and still be the ownership with the highest stack. Otherwise, you will not be able to move on. But the twist is, for example, this one has the highest stack currently. If another player wanted to build up on this stack, they currently have to put a green chip here first, or at somewhere in the stack, because they are currently the highest ownership. So there's a little bit of twist to this one in terms of how the gameplay works. It does seem cute. I think the art looks great, and I think it's going to be a pretty good price point for us in that 30 to 40 minute time game. So a good little palate cleanser game or a filler between heavier titles. That'll be Top Bop by Talon Strike Studios, coming out on July 13th. Okay, Méthodologie, The Murder on the Links. And this is a social deduction game based on a book called Méthodologie. Now, I have never read the book, and I didn't even know it was a book that these people based a board game on, but it is going to be based on that one, but really has no bearing on the gameplay aspects. And this game is a social deduction game using the storyline of Méthodologie, which is going to be set in a golf course, but players are going to be trying to deduce who done it, basically, and who did it, and who can be the best accuser. Effectively, the way the game works is players are going to be playing cards out. They're going to be drawing cards, and then there's going to be an accusation phase where someone's going to say, do you have the shovel or something? And players are going to have to say yes or no or whatever. When you get to a point where there's only 3 cards left in players' hands, you are then going to try to guess, and that's what this scene is, trying to guess who has what in their hands. And you're guessing by putting your bets here. So you're saying that this player has whoever this player is. So those are kind of like Monopoly. I would say like Monopoly player icons is the best way to describe them. So whoever handcuffs has this card, but someone thinks that Musjaf has this card in hand and whatnot. And then you'll get points by flipping that token over. Your player icon is on the backside to say if you are right, you get points. And that's kind of how the game decides. This is, again, like I said, a social deduction game with several different phases between the accusation phase, investigation phase, and again, whatnot. So Méthodologie, you can definitely check that one out. I went a little too fast there, but we'll just go to the next game, which is Zorro, the dice game, Stunts and Alleys by Pull the Pin Games. And this is actually going to be an expansion pack to Zorro, the dice game. If you haven't checked out Zorro, the dice game, or if you don't own it, you're probably going to need to check that game out before checking this one out. The other thing I would check out is when they're doing the Kickstarter for this game, you want to see how many people are returning backers. That'll give you a good idea of how good Zorro, the dice game is in terms of retention for people who already own the game, who are getting the expansion. So there's going to be probably multiple pledge levels. There'll probably be the Zorro, the dice game, just the game, plus the bundle pack with the original game. You want to see how many people are backing at the original level, and that'll give you a good idea of this game. But this is a standard dice rolling game. The idea of this one is adding an ally to your gameplay, which will help you complete it, and you can actually level up your ally to the point where you get an ally dice that can help you complete some of the objectives. But the ally will always have an Achilles heel kind of situation. There's always going to be something that it's not very good at. And that'll be Zorro, the dice game by Pull the Pin Games. Next, we're going to be having Flicking Finches. And this one has gone through some time trying to get to Kickstarter. They started the initial announcements, I believe 5 years ago is when they started it, but they're finally making it. They finally got it to Kickstarter, and that to me is what Kickstarter is about. We're trying to get these small publishers the ability to get some exposure to potentially bring their game to life. And Flicking Finches, basically, this is a perfect example, is players are going to be flicking their finches around the Galapagos Islands, attempting to get closer to Charles Darwin, who's spending his time drawing and doodling whatever he can see. And the rules are going to state that there are going to be different types of genetic traits that Charles Darwin is interested in. There's not much information on how that operates and how you can tell like what genetic traits your current birds have, but that is the idea, is that your birds, if you have birds with specific genetic traits that Charles Darwin is looking for at that time at that island, and you flick close enough, you will get some good points. So Flicking Finches, coming to Kickstarter on July 13th. On Mars, the somewhat cooperative expansion to On Mars. And this one is one that I mentioned in my 3 games to know about coming to crowdfunding. This was one that I think was my first one on the list. And that means it's going to make my pick of the week for games I think are to be most intrigued by. Now, On Mars, as I said at the beginning, this expansion is a somewhat cooperative gameplay expansion. On Mars originally is a fully competitive game where players are competing against each other to have the best scores. This one is going to have different modules that you can pick and put into the gameplay to change the variable types of gameplays. And we did cover this on that gameplay or on the 3 games. But the different ideas are you're going to have these 4 different chapters down here where they're going to have a 1 versus all chapter, which is going to be the aliens are going to actually be invading the planet. So one player will be playing the aliens, everyone else will be playing the settlers, trying to fend them off. We have the Outbreak, which is the co-op 2 to 4 player. The Blackout, again, another cooperative session. And then they have the Monolith expansion for a solo experience. If you're wanting to enjoy On Mars and have a more robust solo experience, this would fill that gap. They have some pretty stellar miniatures, or meeples, I would say. And On Mars already has really cool retro designed meeples that really fit the flavor. And these kind of fit right in with that aspect of those retro feelings. This guy back here is a shoehorn. Like, is this not RoboCop? The robot from RoboCop? Like, that's pretty sure. I don't know the name of the robot. I can't remember what it is, but I'm pretty sure that's what that guy is. But overall, I love the aesthetic of the meeples. I think this will be a great addition. The only thing that I have to talk about is that On Mars is a beast to get to the table. In fact, I don't know if there's a... I was going to see if there's a quick way. Not what I want to do here. The On Mars weight complexity rating is in the 4s. It's a very complex game. So again, anything over 2.5, I tell people to check with their player group, check the pulse of it, make sure this is a game that you're actually going to get to the table. Because while On Mars is a great thematic rich game, they're very hard to table, and the rules can take up to an hour or longer to teach. But very rewarding if you do get to play. So On Mars, Alien Invasion, a somewhat cooperative expansion. And the last game that we're going to be covering for the week, I felt like this was going to be a lot longer. There was a lot of titles to cover. I did cut out a few that just didn't have enough gut to them to really talk about. But the last one we're going to be talking about is Death Roads All-Stars. The Knights of Unity are the creators of this one. They do have some videos down here, so if you want to get some more information, now they are all self-published by the Knights of Unity, and they have it in both Polish and English, so I appreciate them for having multiple languages there for it. But basically, this game looks like, Mad Max and Street Race. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Players will be racing down this board. Now, I've only seen this singular board used for the race, and players will be moving up and moving down based on the movement and the abilities. But basically, it's a hand management game in players and powers, where players are going to be playing cards to use their special character board abilities to either go faster or shoot missiles or do whatever to interrupt their opponent's movement, while also trying to manage the handling of their car, because if they do too much too fast, they can spin out and lose control. So that is Death Roads All-Stars, coming to Kickstarter on the 15th, as is On Mars. I didn't mention that. July 15th is when this one will be launching. And that, everyone, is going to be wrapping up our Kickstarter coverage for the week. Hopefully this was enjoyable for you guys. Again, I appreciate everyone who stays till the end. I know not a lot of people stay for the ramblings at the end, but I am thinking of a new idea for the videos. Someone brought this up in my chat about the whole what did I do this month, and the back chat. I call it the look back series. They wanted to know what my opinions were on specific titles that interested me, that are active. So now that they've launched, how do my opinions change to they launched? And I thought it'd be a great idea to take my recommendations and picks of the week, and once they've launched, we can then talk about it. Like, does this still interest me because they were something that was driving me to them originally? Does it still interest me later? So if that's something you guys are interested in, it's not going to be a full coverage of all the active campaigns because it's just so much stuff to completely cover. Only the ones that interest me, that I thought were worth diving into, and maybe I'll cover some that didn't interest me originally, but now that they've launched, there's something to it that intrigues me, and we can kind of talk about those a little bit more in detail, and talk about the campaigns. So that is that. Again, thank you guys for hanging out and watching the show. Please remember to give me a thumbs up and help the channel support that way. Leave a comment down below. Again, I love the discourse that we love to have, and that's about it. I will talk to you guys very soon.